What if one of the most famous saints in modern history was a humble friar from a tiny Italian town? A man who spent most of his life in a monastery. A man who was mocked, investigated, and misunderstood. A man whose hands, feet, and side bled with the wounds of Christ. A man who became known around the world simply as Padre Pio. Today, we're looking at the extraordinary life of Saint Padre Pio, his suffering, his miracles, his spiritual warfare, and why millions still turn to him for help. Padre Pio was born Francesco Forgione in 1887 in Pietrelcina, Italy. From a young age, he showed signs of deep devotion. He prayed constantly, loved the Mass, and felt drawn to religious life early on. But his path was not easy. He came from a poor family, and he also suffered from illness and weakness throughout much of his life. Even as a boy, Francesco was different. He spoke of seeing Jesus, Mary, and angels. Some people around him thought he was unusually holy. Others probably thought he was just a very serious child. But as it turned out, something far greater was happening. He entered the Capuchin Franciscan order as a young man and took the name Pio. After years of study and formation, he was ordained a priest in 1910. Soon after, his life would become one of the most mysterious and controversial in modern Catholic history. In 1918, while praying before a crucifix, Padre Pio received the stigmata at the wounds of Christ. His hands, feet, and side began to bleed. These wounds remained with him for 50 years. They were real, painful, and impossible to ignore. Imagine that for a moment. Every day, for decades, he carried the passion of Christ in his own body. The wounds were both a sign of union with Jesus and a source of suffering. People came from all over to see him. Some were inspired, some were skeptical, some thought he was a fraud. The church itself investigated him many times. He was restricted from publicly celebrating Mass for a period, and there were years when he was watched very closely. But through all of it, he remained obedient, quiet, and faithful. He never tried to build a brand. He never tried to defend himself loudly. He simply kept praying, hearing confessions, and offering up his suffering to God. And that brings us to one of the most important parts of Padre Pio's life, his work in the confessional. People would stand in line for hours, sometimes all day, just to confess to him. Why? Because many believed he could read souls. He often knew things about people that they had never told him. He gave hard advice, but it was always rooted in mercy. He could be blunt, even intimidating, but he wanted souls to come back to God. He once said, 1,000 years of enjoying human glory is not worth even an hour spent sweetly communing with Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. That tells you everything about his priorities. Padre Pio loved the Mass deeply. He often spent long hours preparing for it and even longer hours giving thanks afterward. For him, the Mass was not just a ritual, it was the center of everything. He treated it like the most sacred moment in the world because to him, it was. He also battled spiritual attacks. Many accounts describe violent temptations, frightening visions, and direct assaults from the devil. Padre Pio often said that spiritual warfare was real and that souls had to fight hard to stay close to God. He believed prayer, confession, the Mass, and devotion to the Eucharist were weapons against evil. And yet, despite all of that intensity, he was also deeply compassionate. He cared for the poor, he comforted the sick, he encouraged the suffering, and eventually he helped build one of the most remarkable ministries associated with any saint, the Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza, or House for the Relief of Suffering. This hospital became a sign of his desire to care for both body and soul. Over time, Padre Pio's reputation spread far beyond Italy. People reported healings, conversions, answered prayers, and miracles connected to his intercession. Some came to him in person, others prayed to him from afar. He became a source of hope for people who felt desperate, ashamed, or spiritually exhausted. And maybe that is why so many people love him. Padre Pio was not a polished saint in the human sense. He was not famous for charm or charisma. He was famous for holiness, suffering, prayer, and fidelity. He reminds us that the path to heaven is not always glamorous. Sometimes it is hidden. Sometimes it is painful. Sometimes it looks like a long road of patience, obedience, and sacrifice. He died in 1968 at the age of 81. By then, millions already considered him a living saint. He was canonized by St. John Paul II in 2002, and devotion to him continues to grow around the world. So what does Padre Pio teach us today? He teaches us that prayer is powerful. He teaches us that suffering can be united to Christ. He teaches us that confession matters. He teaches us that the Mass is the center of Christian life. And he teaches us that even in darkness, God is still working. If you feel weak, Padre Pio understands weakness. If you feel attacked, Padre Pio understands spiritual battle. If you feel far from God, Padre Pio reminds you that grace is still available. If you feel like your suffering has no purpose, Padre Pio shows that suffering can become redemptive. Padre Pio, pray for us. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Comment below what saint you would like to see in a video next.